The season, for the most part, as far as like with the fandom, there's been a lot of backlash with this season, and it's really bizarre. It's really bizarre because this is the first time that we've seen fans actually lash out at this. Like, some of the complaints I've seen, okay, the CG, I've seen that was one of the main complaints, right? So people had a problem with the CG. People say just in terms of story and what it brought to the table, it was inferior to the previous seasons. Like, it didn't really have what the Entertainment District provided. It didn't really have what Mugen Train provided. So I've seen those arguments. Aside from that, I think one of the other arguments was like, yo, where's Zenitsu and where's Inosuke, bro? Like, how you don't have the main cast in an arc and stuff like that. Which, granted, I think a part of that is, yeah, Ufotable, taking these long, like dropping only 11 episodes, because if we didn't, I want to say that we get back to Inosuke and Zenitsu with the next arc anyways. So if we would have had like the classic 24 or even 20, 22, whatever, we probably would have got back to them sooner, but that's another issue. So let's go down the road. The CGI 3D stuff, it was so minuscule. Honestly, that's just a load of horse shit to be saying that that's a big problem. Like, it was here scattered there, like, oh, the fish came out of the thing is CG. Oh, the little fish that's attacking, it looks CG. And some of them didn't even look that bad at all. Like, yeah, you could tell CG, especially we have a trained eye looking at animation for so long or whatever. But for the most part, the CG really wasn't that bad, and it really wasn't a big deal. And if that ruined Demon Slayer for you, you're a dumbass. I'm sorry. If that ruined the entire season for you and the entire series for you, that 3 seconds here and there of these fish was 3D CG and it was just not to your liking, you're a dumbass. I'm gonna just keep it all the way real. Like, if you have a problem with it, by all means, have a problem with it. If you think like, it was out of place or stuff like that, absolutely. But if that ruined Demon Slayer for you, or you dropped Demon Slayer because of that, you're an idiot. Like, you're stupid. I'm sorry. Like, what? You dropped... That's like, I don't even know. It's like your favorite artist put out a 30-track album, and one track you didn't really like the beat, and you're like, yo, this is the worst album of my life. I'm never listening to him again. That track was just trash. I can't even believe it. It ruined my perception of him. It's just like, oh my god, that beat was just horrible. Like, what's wrong with you, bro? If it looks bad, absolutely have a problem with it, critique it, say, yo, that brings down the season as a whole for me by a little margin because we didn't have these problems in prior seasons, whatever. But to take it to the lengths that some people take it, just a bunch of dumbasses, NPCs, and just, I don't know what to say. Now, as far as, okay, so that was one of the things, 3D CG, it really wasn't a big deal. You barely even saw these fish. It wasn't that extreme, so whatever. Take it down by a tiny margin if you want, but it wasn't really the biggest issue. In comparison to Entertainment and Mugen Train, yeah, I could see that is valid criticism. That's valid. Like Entertainment District, you really was on the edge of your seat with the battles. I didn't really per se, like, I kind of feared a little bit for I'm so used to calling her Kanroji. You know what I'm talking about, the love Hashira. Like, I was a little bit fearful for her, because I ain't gonna lie, I haven't read this in so long that I forgot a lot about this. I'm gonna just keep it real. I forgot exactly what happens at this point. Like, I know some of the major plot points towards the end, but my mind is damn near fresh with a lot of this stuff. So I was a little bit on the edge of my seat, like, oh shit, is she gonna be alright? And then when Muichiro, when he had like all the needles in his face and shit like that, and you know, he was freezing up, I was like, oh snap, okay. So there was a couple of aspects of those things that I was like, yeah, oh man. I think the biggest thing that you could compare it to, and it's unfortunate because it doesn't happen until the end, is the actual final episode that really puts it like the stakes is as high, if not more so, than both of those arcs. Because remember, one of the things you cannot forget is the fact that Tanjiro saving Nezuko is the overall objective of this series. Like, you know, everything that happens with Rengoku, all that's cool. This series starts off because a brother wants to save his sister that has been turned into a demon. He wants to revert her back into her humanity. That's the basis and premise of Demon Slayer. So when you put that, especially for this grand finale, the last, what was it, 50 minutes? I want to say 57 minutes for the finale. Like, it was crazy, even though they said 70 minutes, but it was like 57 minutes, whatever. This big finale, and you make it just gorgeous art and animation. The frames is out freaking, like, I couldn't imagine how many drawings they did to make that slow motion shot of Tanjiro and stuff like that. Just out of this world, great. And I feel like those stakes are a lot higher than even, yeah, sure, Rengoku, what happened with him and Mugen Train, his death, that was crazy. Entertainment District, it really looked like, oh man, you know, the art and animation was crazy, and the battles against Gyotaro and Daki with Tengen, like those were some crazy battles, but the stakes are way higher, in my opinion, in that moment when Tanjiro has to make a choice. Do I save my sister, or do I stop this demon before the sun rises? And the sun is already up. Like, that in general, in my opinion, is a big... I think it's just that it happened so freaking late. It's like, can you compare the finale, the final episode of Demon Slayer, and use that as a basis for an argument against a good majority of Entertainment District and a good majority of Mugen Train? Which, personally, I don't really even care about the Mugen Train TV anime adaptation thingy-majig. I'm more of a Mugen Train movie guy. I don't... To me, the TV anime adaptation doesn't exist of Mugen Train. It's like, movie, Entertainment District. and the filler episode before the movie. I like that one. But that's pretty much it. So I guess maybe you can say that, yeah, it's still just the finale that you're using as the basis of, man, the stakes are high. But I did feel like, yo, Muichiro had some troubles, and his flashback was very freaking emotional as well. When we get into Muichiro finding out about his twin brother that he lost and how that happened, that was pretty freaking tragic. And, you know, overall quality writing hit you in the emotions and feels and stuff like that. So that was pretty good too. So I wouldn't say it's like completely a ways off. I think there was too many episodes of focusing in on, unfortunately, I mean, Swordsmith Village, but on the Swordsmith guys. I think that there was a lot of moments, like maybe the kid one was okay because it was like, oh man, you know, I don't want nothing to happen to him. But like the one jackass that was grinding the blade, thinking he's, what is it, Gato from Berserk or some shit, and like lost an eye and stuff like that. It was like, I guess it was cool when he was going through it, whatnot, but they put a lot of time and emphasis on a lot of these swordsmiths, and it's like, also, I guess the demons that they had in the season the personalities wasn't as dope as like Akaza. Like Akaza was just another level, and Gyotaro and Daki were inverted versions of Nezuko and Tanjiro. I don't feel like these demons in this season were very standout, notable-ish. You know, a lot of it was splitting the one demon into a million parts and shit like that, different bodies. Who's the real body? So they didn't really feel as iconic. So maybe that was another problematic aspect that kind of threw people out of the immersion that they normally would have with Demon Slayer, because it's like, you know what I'm saying? They don't feel as iconic as an Akaza and what he did and what he brought to the table in his battle against Rengoku, even though he was a bitch for how he did Rengoku. But that finale, bro, I ain't gonna lie, I was there, I felt like, breathe, Tim, breathe. Hold on. I had to breathe for a moment, bro. I was like, oh my god. You know, because again, it's been so long that I forgot what happened. Whereas Nezuko is there in the sun, about to freaking melt, and Tanjiro has to make that choice. And I ain't gonna lie, I put myself in that position. Anybody that has a loved one and they have an objective that can sometimes go haywire, you can put yourself immediately in that position. Like, yo, I got my sister right here, that is, I'm trying to save her. That's the whole goal of why I'm even freaking here. Or do I go after and save like 3 or 4 other people and stop this demon, which has been the objective of this whole thing this whole time. And I love the aspect of their relationship and the trust that they have with one another, that it was Nezuko that made the decision for him. When he couldn't decide, he was like, I just can't, bro. I love my sister too much. Like, how can I leave her here to die? You know what I'm saying? I personally, I felt like he made his choice, and that maybe that's more of a valid thing. Of no, he made his choice. He was gonna stay with his sister right there. It is what it is. He didn't want to leave her, and Nezuko forced him, like, nah, dog, you're gonna go. And things turned out, you know, for the betterment. Thank goodness, because I ain't gonna lie, I would have been weeping like a bitch if it would have turned out for the negative, because it's like, yo, dog, come on, bro. But the way they handled it was just, I ain't gonna lie, that finale was incredible. Doesn't make, I don't even think, here's the thing, I don't even think it needs to make up for anything. There's nothing that it needed to make up. Like, the season itself was decent. It was only 11 episodes to begin with, so it wasn't like this lengthy, like, you know, there was 24 episodes and 15, 16 of them was just boring as fuck. Like, it was 11 episodes, some decent build-up. As soon as we get to Swordsmith, things start kicking off. You got 2 Hashira involved. You got the love Hashira. We get into her backstory as well. That was pretty freaking dope, finding out about her. A little bit of a difference of her wanting to be herself, but because of being herself was like, you know, she's a food gorger, she loves to eat a whole bunch of food, she likes to dye her hair, no man was gonna want her, so she would lie and put up a facade, essentially become somebody that she's not, to try and get a man, and it was like destroying her. So it was an internal struggle. I think that that's a great thing that's happening with just women in general in the world today. So I feel like Gotoge nailed it with showcasing an internal conflict that a lot of females are facing in these times, where they want to be themselves, but because there's a lot of assholes in the world that they may run into, they end up feeling like, I gotta hide who I am. And it's like, you never gotta hide who you are, because at the end of the day, let's keep it real, everybody that has ran into Kanroji Mitsuri would freaking love to be with her, you know what I'm saying? So ultimately, that was a fantastic thing that Gotoge nailed on. I think that any female watcher of this should have resonated very strongly with that. Maybe we ain't gonna resonate it, because it's like, what the fuck? You know, I can't necessarily relate with Kanroji per se, but a lot of motherfuckers can. A lot of women, you know what I'm saying? So I thought that was nicely done. We got 2 Hashira in this. I don't know, bro. I didn't feel like there was anything that needed to be made up for. It was just a really freaking good season. If you compare it to like Mugen Train movie, Entertainment District, let's just say, okay, hypothetically speaking, because I really would have to sit down and think exactly where I would put it. Even if score-wise it's the worst of the 3, it's only like, you know, Mugen Train being a 9, Entertainment District being a 9, and this is like an 8. And is that bad? You know what I'm saying? Is that bad? Or is it that we have way too unrealistic high expectations at this point? Like, how can you really expect for this to every single time nail a 999? Like, and as far as like quality of art and animation, let's not play around here. That the art and animation, aside from the little tiny instances of CG, was fantastic. That finale's art and animation was breathtaking, dog. And then man, I know I'm hopping all over the place from art and animation, but the finding out that Nezuko essentially overcame the problem that Muzan has been trying to solve for, you know, what, 1,000 years, however freaking long homie been around, of conquering the sun. Essentially, Nezuko is the legendary Daywalker, which I always think about Blade. Shoutouts to Wesley Snipes, baby. Wesley, we need you. The world needs you back, Blade. You are Blade. I don't give a fuck. Ain't nobody ever gonna replace Blade for me, okay? Wesley is Blade, bro. When I was younger, that was that dude. I loved Blade so much, okay? Side note, but yeah, she is the Daywalker. You know, when we finally get Muzan breaking out of the character of him hiding as that little kid and realizing like, yo, the Daywalker I've been looking for this entire time, so I could get the blue spider lily, it's here, I can now just absorb her. So in essence of what it does for the overall plot is something unfreaking real, because at the end of the day, now one of his objectives, like, think about it like this, right? If you could throw the argument that critically this season does more for Demon Slayer as a whole than the previous 2, in terms of, sure, the epicness was great with Akaza versus Rengoku when we lost to Hashira, but one of the biggest things, we took a major step at making sure that Nezuko becomes human. Like, now she can actually be in the sunlight and she can talk. That is a major leap into where we've been trying to get with the character being resolved of turning back into human. And then on top of that, the main villain is one step closer to his goal of, oh, all I need to do is absorb her and that's it. Then I could walk in the sunlight. And getting his backstory on top of that, like, yo, come on. Now that I'm looking at it more and more, I throw the argument that this does more for Demon Slayer and is in terms of progression of the story, this does more for progression than Mugen Train and Entertainment District. What does Entertainment and Mugen Train, aside from a Hashira dies and we kill one of the, you know, upper ranks, like that's great in terms of like, okay, we got a little bit closer. This does a massive fast forward, if anything. So you can throw the argument this season contributes more to the overall end goal of this. Come on, stop playing with me, bro. And I'm not even like the biggest like, yo, Swordsmith, but I feel like people have been shitting on Swordsmith so badly and saying, oh, it's such a step down. How? That finale did everything that we needed, and the season as a whole, you don't get the finale unless you get the season. Getting 2 Hashira in there on top of the, come on, stop it, bro. I'm very honest, like, if it was a shitty season, if it was a disappointing season, I would say it, but this accomplished so much more for the overall plot and end goal of the series than either of those previous seasons. So, yeah, and I know, dude, and I know you're a big freaking fan of the Entertainment District, but, you know what I'm saying, is the reality is that at the end of the day, this does more for big end goal pieces. It's like Luffy finding a poneglyph or something in comparison to I don't know, we beat up Gecko Moria. I ain't gonna lie, when Tanjiro thought that Nezuko bit the big one, bro, I was there like, oh my god, bro, oh my god. And granted, I read the manga and I remember like something, so I'm like, okay, but still, I'm there heartbroken because, you know, when you love your sister and you want to save your sister and you're trying anything possible and things beyond your control and you have to make split-second decisions come into your life, it's fucking tough. To me, season 2 is entertainment. There's Mugen Train and then there's season 1. Like, I don't put season 2 as like both of those together. I watched Mugen Train in theaters. That's where it was. That's how I leave it. Season 1 is a whole different animal. I could rewatch season 1 probably any time for the rest of my freaking life and just enjoy it. It just feels like such a great little run. So I compare it to something totally different. I mean, it's the setup, it's the build-up, you meet the Hashira, all that stuff. The Mugen Train, entertainment, and Swordsmith is a different animal. And again, Swordsmith accomplishes more. Yeah, we had a death of a Hashira. Yeah, we beat an upper rank. Like, that was pretty much with those two, the main pieces of what Mugen Train and entertainment provided. This provides clarity and pushing forth towards Nezuko becoming human. And this provides that Muzan is one step away from his goal. Pacing could have been better for season 3, absolutely. Mugen Train was important because Rengoku's death is constantly referenced and his message, set your heart ablaze, is carried throughout the entire series. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe, okay, I sounded like if I'm downplaying Mugen Train. Let me stop that because that's not what I'm trying to do. Mugen Train was amazing, bro. I'm just saying in comparison to what it does as far as progressing the plot, like, you know, getting like one step closer to things. Like, yeah, that does, and inspiration goes a long way. And you could throw the argument maybe even that, yo, inspiration is a lot more important and stuff like that, because without that inspiration, like, even throughout the season they keep on referencing Rengoku again, so I understand that. But I'm just saying, bro, Nezuko is trying to be human. They trying to make Nezuko human. She could talk now and she could be in the sun. Muzan been trying to be in the sunlight. We even get his backstory. You know what I'm saying? We finally know all about Muzan and his human days. That's huge. I think the problem with Swordsmith is the fact that they wanted to make a season. Maybe they stretched stuff out to make that 11 episode season, because obviously they want to have it go from there to finishing with the Swordsmith arc itself, and they want to have it as a contained season. So that's probably where we ran into some problems of it being slow. And that's, maybe you could throw your argument, yo, Ufotable, y'all definitely milking shit. You know what I'm saying? In terms of like, we're making go a long way. But then there's a counter argument that, but then we don't get this beautiful art and animation if they don't release it in this way. Because the only reason we get those 360 gorgeous 2D animated shots of Tanjiro turning around and Nezuko kicking him into the air, all that beautiful art, Nezuko coming in the sunlight and stuff like that, the only reason we get those 20 out of 10 visuals is because we have, you know, this long amount of time in between, and that's why we only get 11 episodes. So it's, you know, give and a take. Demon Slayer's anime is just way better than the manga. Like, there's no question in my mind or anything. Like, half the time I would have been confused with the manga and stuff like that. The anime, there's no question. The anime clearly clears the manga. Even with those progression that I got, a lot of that does reside in the final episode, and as a whole this season, it's like a solid 8 to an 8.5, and that's comparing Demon Slayer to Demon Slayer. Let's be very clear that this season of anime is better than a lot of shit out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, comparing Swordsmith to Mugen Train and entertainment, sure, it may feel like a step down. The pacing may have not been the greatest or whatever. But you compare this to damn near all the other anime out there, or any shonen anime in history, come on. How do you think Ufotable is going to handle a whole season 4 with only 12 chapters of training? I wish they would have, because I think they did confirm that they're doing another season. Maybe they should have did a freaking movie or something. It's making money, so they're going to keep on going. I wonder, at this rate, how long until this shebang is over? We're in 2023. The rate is going. We're gonna be like in 2030 when this shit finishes. It's madness. That's why I'm sure Gotoge just sits back and just collects checks. I'm sure Gotoge is just like, yo, I did a little quick run. Like, yo, that's crazy. And shout out, and I hope that Gotoge really is paid off those volumes, because, you know, over 100 million volumes in a few years. Realistically, Demon Slayer ran for what, 2016 to 2020, right? I want to say it only ran for like 4 years. Shorty did this, or homie did this in 4 years, managed to create this that is still going, gonna keep on going. Granted, I think at some given point Gotoge will return, and I don't think that it's going to be for another manga. I truly think that Gotoge is going to return for a Demon Slayer sequel. Maybe it might not be conventional, maybe it might be with those characters, maybe it might be a love story that involves demon slaying or something like that, but Gotoge will return. There's too much money on the table. I would be shocked if they didn't. Favorite scene from the season? Favorite scene from the season, honestly, is just everything in the finale. It's gonna sound cliche, but yeah, Tanjiro with Nezuko. Outside of that, Muichiro's flashback with his brother, his twin brother, that was powerful for me. And then after that, yeah, I'm super cliche with it. And then there's the other Hashira, Mitsuri, like her past and whatnot. Those moments were great as well. Oh man, you know, it kind of felt like it was explored and then completely dropped, of going more into what's his name, homie, the doll that they, you know, the doll with the swords and whatnot. I wish we would have got more of that. But again, it's the source material issue. But that was something that I felt like it was, the season started off with going into, and it makes you even believe like, yo, we're about to see number one, you know what I'm saying? We're about to see the higher up of the higher ups. So that was kind of like a little bit like, okay, teasing for something way down the road or another season. But that was kind of cool too. So yeah, that's pretty much my final thoughts on this season of Demon Slayer Swordsmith Village. It was a pretty good season. It was very good, honestly. And the finale is just breathtaking.
Yes, this is for my day ones, gotta be clear. Still moving on, baby, but I wish she was here. Still moving on, baby, but I gotta get there. Still moving on, baby, I'ma never forget. Still moving on, baby, I'ma never regret. Still moving on, still moving on. This is for my day ones. This is for my day ones.